Hey everybody, it's Mr. Greg here from the Kindergarten Smorgasbord, and today I'm going to be answering some questions that I received when I recently hosted a free webinar with my friends from ESGI. In the webinar, I talked about our center management system and how we keep centers simple in our classroom. During the live webinar, there were lots of follow-up questions that people asked, and so today I'm going to spend a few minutes with this video answering some of the questions that I received. And in this blog post, I'm also going to link to several other blog posts and several other videos that will also help answer a lot of the questions that you had during the free webinar. So let's just jump right into the questions, and I'm going to keep this pretty short and simple, but a lot of the blog posts and the videos that I link to today will give you a lot more in-depth details. Do students do math and reading centers together or at separate times? Math is done in the afternoon, literacy is done in the morning, so math and literacy centers are done at separate times. Do your kids come into kindergarten knowing how to write? Some do, some don't. Just like every classroom, my kids come in at all sorts of various levels of reading and math and writing. So some kids can write, some can't. It just every year it's different. And we have kids of all abilities, and so that's our job, is to meet them where they are. Where did you get the tub storage from? This is $1 million question that I get asked all of the time. The large wooden tub that we use for our literacy tubs was actually in my classroom several years ago, and so it was just pure luck that I have that storage unit. The smaller PVC version that we use for math, I actually built with my dad, and so it's just PVC pipe and Dollar Tree baskets, and I'll link the directions on this blog post. What happens if someone else has the tub that a child needs to finish? If you go to the basket and you have some unfinished work and you check and you go to get that tub and somebody's already using it, you join them and you share. Do you enter this whole group? When in the year? At the beginning of the year. Centers are introduced starting the second week of school. We start whole group with just our tubs. We really work on the procedures and the routines for a couple of weeks with the tubs. Then we add in write the room, and then we add in read to self, and then computers, and finally listening. Same with math. And then after a few weeks of, once all the centers are kind of up and running, then we introduce the wheel. So probably about week 6, we introduce the wheel. We're now at week 10 or 11 in our classroom, and things are running smoothly. I always tell people, watch for the pumpkins. So by the time the pumpkins come at the end of October, everything is up and running, and everything generally is running pretty smoothly. How do you group your students? They're grouped by skill, and so we always use ESGI to assess our kids, and it's so with ESGI being so quick and easy, it's like almost a constant ongoing assessment. And so our kids are grouped by skill. So some kids are going to be working on letters, some on sounds, and right now I've got a few working on CBC words, so they're grouped by skill. Brand new kindergarten teacher. How do I come up with that many choices? So overwhelmed. You don't at first. The choices and all of the creations and the centers that I have are things that I've accumulated in 8 years of teaching kindergarten. And so it takes time to accumulate that kind of stuff. And so you can just start with what you have. And you can go through my blog, and I have lots of simple DIY, low prep centers and activities. So don't feel overwhelmed. I know it's a lot, and there's a lot of information being thrown at you, but you can start with what you have and just slowly build up to those choices. What about those students who want to do technology for a whole hour? That's their choice, and if they choose to do technology and that's what the wheel tells them to do, that's their choice and that's what they're allowed to do. Do you have a whole group block? Yes, it lasts about 30 minutes, and that leaves us over an hour for centers and guided reading. Do you have a set number of centers and just swap out the work? Yes. So the centers stay the same. We just change out the activities every 2 weeks. We switch out a few of them, and then at the end of a month or right after a holiday, we'll change out all of them. How often do your kids visit a center? Can be once a week, it could be 2 times a week, 3 times a week, depending on how the wheel gets turned. Our ELA block is 120 minutes. How do you hold your students accountable to get the centers completed? Do you give rewards? No. So it's an expectation. So we have very high expectations. They know that they're expected to choose a center, sit down, and do the work and complete it. I don't collect their work. I don't check their work. I do get up and move around between transitions between our small groups and guided reading groups. So the kids know I'm up and monitoring and I'm observing. And also when they finish, they walk by and they show me their work, and so I can quickly glance and know that they did a good job or didn't do a good job. How long does it take to prep your centers initially for the week? The thing is I don't switch out my centers every week. And this is what saves me so much time and makes this such an easy system, is that because there are so many choices built in, I don't have to switch out centers every week. So every couple of weeks, I change out just a few centers in all the groups so everybody sees new, fresh things, so there's not a lot of boredom, but I'm not switching out everything all the time. So a couple of hours on Sunday to get everything ready, and that can be shorter if it's not a center switch out week. Of course, if it's the time when I'm switching everything out at the end of the month, it can take a little bit longer. What type of printer do I use? I use an HP LaserJet Pro 200. You can purchase this on Amazon. How would you do these literacy centers with a small room and no technology? I came from a very small room with limited technology. We use the same system. You just have to get used to being in a small confined area. And with no technology, I would just add in another choice instead of having technology. I have consistent centers too, but the skills change. The kids tell me they are boring. What do you do then? We have to sell it. And the thing is, with anything in our classroom, we have to be excited about it. We have to sell it. We have to get the kids pumped up about it. So I get really excited for center time and for hippopotamus time, so the kids are excited about it. I try to change the clip art as much as possible because their brains love novelty, so just changing the clip art, they think it's new. Colored paper, colored cardstock also helps, but really sell it. Is every student checking the unfinished baskets at the same time? No. They have a ticket to centers, which is independent work, so everybody finishes that at a different rate, and so it's kind of a staggered release to go check the baskets. Do all centers have a worksheet? No. None of our centers have a worksheet. Worksheets are busy work. We don't do busy work. All of our centers have recording sheets where they're recording their learning, so no worksheets. How many copies of the recording sheets do you leave in each tub? Depends on the activity in the center. I can usually tell which ones might be a little more popular. For the more popular ones, 10 to 12. For the less popular ones, 6 copies. Do the kids choose where to go, or do you tell them? They get to choose. It's all choice for them. They look at the wheel gives them 2 choices, and then they have the freedom to pick from those 2 choices. Where do you get your spinners from? Amazon. How many students are at each center? Depends. They could up to 4, because I have 4 kids per group. Could be anywhere from 1 to 4. How long are your center groups? We don't have center groups. The kids stay in their centers for about an hour. There's no cleaning up and transitioning time. What if the kids do a really lousy job on their center work? I'm up monitoring their work. They also will show me their work when they finish, so I can kind of glance at it. If I see that it's lousy, they have to redo it. Does Mr. Gregg write the name of the student on the differentiated sheet for each center tub, so the students know which sheet to use? No, I do not. Everything is color-coded, and so that's how they know what sheets to use. They're looking for their colors. How many students does Greg have in class? This year I have 18. When setting up centers, etc., example the alphabet, do you give the whole alphabet to match or just some? I always give the whole alphabet. How do non-independent or behaviorally challenged students adapt to your centers? I've used this system for 5 years, and I've had all kinds of behavior issues and non-independent students, and everyone adapts very well because it's very, very visual, and so that really helps. And because they have a lot of choice and freedom, that helps with the behavior challenge students. Do students in the guided reading group come from the same center color group? Sometimes, but not always. So my center groups and my guided reading groups are different. They could have some of the same kids, but they also could be different. How long is it from when you introduce centers to when you start pulling small groups? 2 weeks. So we do centers for 2 weeks, and then I start pulling small groups. The baskets in the pictures hanging in the wall are the Write the Room baskets. The baskets on the floor are the math baskets. Are the groups color-coded by differentiation based on skill level? Yes. Is there always a worksheet? Never a worksheet. Almost always a recording sheet for them to record their learning. Do you correct papers? No. Are the hands-on stations or hippos like ducks and noodles in the tubs? Yes. Favorite apps, I will put a link on this blog post to my favorite apps. When do the kids show you their center work? Are you bombarded with students after your stoplight goes off or during cleanup? I'm not, because when they finish, they just kind of, I call it a walk by display, and so they just walk by me as I'm at guided reading, and they hold up their paper and I give it a glance. Math tubs and math baskets are the exact same thing, I just change out those names. Do you check all of their work? No, I glance at it, but I don't grade it. Do you send it home? Yes, when they finish, it goes in their cubby to go home. Does Greg do guided reading during centers? Yes, so while all the kids are in centers, I pull guided reading groups. What center is toss across with? It is part of the tubs. Did you make your own light box? Yes, and I will put a link to the directions on this blog post. Are you putting the centers that are a little bigger, like muffin pans and toss away paper plate puzzles, in the tubs? Yes, all of that would be included in their tubs. My kids are famous for destroying pieces from games. I use heavy laminate and they still bend them, put them in their mouths, etc. The best trick I have for kids who are destroying things is put the ownership on your class. I tell my kids from day one, this is not my classroom, this is not my stuff. This classroom and everything in it belongs to all of us. And so it's your stuff and we have to all take care of it together. If we don't take care of it, then we don't have any of this fun stuff to learn, and kindergarten won't be any fun. And so put the ownership on them and put that responsibility on them that this is all of our stuff. By doing that, we also add in a little bit of positive peer pressure so that the kids know that if they don't take care of the stuff and if they tear up all of our centers, then their friends are going to be upset with them, and that really helps. So I did not answer every follow-up question that was asked, but be sure to check out all of the links and videos that I share on this blog post, because it goes into a lot of detail and will answer all of your questions about centers made simple in our classroom. And if not, you can feel free to use the contact form here on the blog or send an email to kindersmorgie@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to answer your questions or direct you to some links and videos that will help you. Thanks, everybody. Bye.